Is there a big difference between the premarital and the postmarital? Like, are the rules different? How does that work?
Yes, there is a huge difference in our world between a postmarital agreement and a premarital agreement. While it might sound funny to the average person, because most people who are going to get married are living together, are very involved with each other, that marital event immediately kicks in what we call the fiduciary duties of
Mm.
marriage. And as soon as you get married, you have a lot more rights. So the financial disclosure process, which is whether it's a premarital or postmarital agreement, there is a financial disclosure process. But the postmarital agreement financial disclosure process is much, much, much more extensive
Mm.
because usually a postmarital agreement, for example, you have your premarital assets, and usually most postmarital agreements either want to transmute or go back and preserve and say, hey, we missed our deadline. We still want to have our separate property. Well, you've got to do accountings for from the date of marriage to whenever you get around to this postmarital agreement. What did you have at date of marriage? What's the growth been? What have you taken and saved? So there has
Wow.
to be disclosure. It's fairly extensive.
I
And
did not realize that.
I didn't realize
oh,
that either. Yeah, I
yeah.
just figure they could agree at any point to anything.
No, and if you're especially if you're going to do something like a transmute, well, you can agree. It's just that if you don't have the proper disclosure, it's going to get thrown out. That's the
Yeah.
number one reason that post
Oh,
and premarital agreements get thrown out is inadequate financial disclosure.
oh,
Interesting.
interesting. Yeah.
You mentioned the word transmutation and, separate and community property, and I wanted to touch on that. That's something that we deal with a lot, and I wanted to just have you kind of go over what's separate, what's community, and what is a transmutation.
Yeah. So separate property in essence is anything that you have accumulated prior to marriage. Now, a transmutation is our language for changing the character of your separate or your community property. And it can go from separate to separate, it can go from community to separate. And that's probably something that both of you have dealt with extensively when you do estate plans for people who have separate property. And suddenly they say, well, if I pass away, I want this to happen. But they don't always give thought to, will I want this? Will I want this person to have this house that I inherited?